I have a crazy story about a dog that attacked the neighbor, the neighbor's dog, and the neighbor's sister. This story is absolutely absurd. Make sure you stick to the end to see what the cops had to say about this dog. We live in the city limits of Wake County, Raleigh, North Carolina, where there are strict leash laws. Our new neighbors moved in next door about 6 months ago, and have two rather aggressive large Labradors who are let out back doors into open yards each day and night. One of them, though, is very sweet and well behaved, while the other is aggressive and will charge at people and other dogs. We've asked them multiple times to walk their dogs on leashes and explained about the leash laws in this city and state and county, but they refuse to keep them on leashes. 2 months ago, one of the labs charged at myself and one of my small beagles from across the yard, and the dog owner just sat there and watched as I tried to fight off her dog while picking up my beagle. The dog bit my arm enough to draw blood. I kicked her dog to get it to stop and back off from its attack. The owner went into a rage over me kicking her dog, and the next day filed a complaint against me with our homeowner organization. Well, let me just tell you, that backfired because the HOA contacted me from my side of the story and ended up charging the neighbor a $250 violation, HOA agreement fee. I did not file an animal control report because my bite wasn't that bad, and I thought that the HOA fine would set them straight. Also, for the fact that it's not the dog's fault, her owner is an idiot. They continue to let their dogs run free, and we have multiple videos of them letting their dogs run free and do aggressive dog running onto our porch and throwing her body against our glass, trying to get our dogs inside. Last month, I confronted our neighbor with the multiple videos and told her she needed to walk them on leashes, and we were no longer willing to be afraid to use our back porch or walk our dogs, and told her this was the last time we'd be nice, asking her that, and next time we'd call animal control. Okay, so fast forward to 6 days ago, when I woke up to the sound of one of my dogs, for lack of a better term, screaming. I jumped out of bed, ran into the yard where my sister and one of my beagles was being attacked by her dog. My sister had curled around our dog and was repeatedly bitten by the neighbor's dog. I tackled the neighbor's dog and, not proud to say as a lifelong animal lover, proceeded to grab the dog by her neck, force her to the ground by her neck, and shove her into the ground while practically sitting on the dog to control her. The neighbor finally got her dog inside. The results were my dog had a huge chunk ripped out of her throat, multiple rips in both ears, 6 broken teeth on her bottom jaw, a shattered front paw, and a broken arm, and multiple bites to her face and rib cage. My dog needed all broken teeth removed, pins in her arm and paw, dozens of stitches, and a skin graft. Had no idea they could do this for dogs. Too close to the hole in her neck. My sister needed 38 stitches from the bite she received. I ended up with 29. And all 3 of us are on a plethora of antibiotics to follow up care, including rabies shots, for my sister and I, because her dog had no current shots. Those shots are not pleasant, by the way. Our combined medical and vet bills are $29,000. with still needing follow-up visits for all of us over the next few months. She's refusing to pay anything at all and claims she's not at fault because our yard is not fenced in. She's also claiming she's got to sue us because apparently I broke 2 of her dog's ribs when I tackled her. I cleared out my savings account of $3,500 to make the basic payment to save my dog's life, and don't have any more money to hire a lawyer. We can hardly afford the co-pays on our insurance to get our rabies treatment and prescriptions filled. So, I filed to get an advance on my pay, but it can take up to 2 weeks to go through. And I was also served with court summons today for injuries to her dog, and her pain and suffering from the trauma of her pet. The claim also states that I intentionally caused harm to her pet and used unnecessary force to subdue her pet. Yeah, I'm a 4'10" female and my sister's 4'8". Her dog is almost as big as I am. I really don't know where to start on how to deal with this. I feel like we have a solid case due to the videos and the paperwork from the HOA for the first time she tried to blame us. I also have messages that span her time as our neighbor via the Nextdoor app, where she admits to walking her pets off leashes, and her refusal to stop because it's, quote, her house. How in the world can I fight this without being able to pay a lawyer fee up front? What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. So we're starting off today with a crazy story. Just so you know, there's one update and then a final update. I hope you're enjoying your day. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button. It helps me out immensely. Here's your update for story number 1. My sister and I went to the police station this morning. The officer suggested we each file our own reports for multiple reasons, with one being my sister wasn't involved in the first attack, and we each technically own one dog even though we share expenses. One dog I bought from a rescue and is property in my name, and the attack dog was bought under my sister's name. The video evidence was used for both reports, but the messages were used for mine only, since they came from my account. The officer called animal control and viewed it as a good use of their weekend emergency service because the neighborhood did not or could not provide proof of rabies shot and is viewed as a public health risk, and no one can confirm the dog's violence is not attributed to that. That's probably not the case, but city law requires all dogs within city limits to be registered with the city and to be up to date on all shots. He suggested that we take our dogs and cars and leave the neighborhood between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., or until we receive a follow-up call from animal control. He also suggested we call our homeowner's insurance after we were done at the station and had a police report to give them. The police took photos of our injuries and said we need to take pictures of our dogs once we get home. We already took pictures of ourselves and dog last night after reading through some of the comments on here, but they wanted their own pictures to file with the report. We asked about getting a protection or restraining order, but he said it would be very hard to do because we had the burden of proof, showing that she maliciously and intentionally used her dogs to harm us, or prove a history of stalking us. My boyfriend went out this morning and brought 2 new cameras and a stack of SD cards. He has one set up to look at our over backyard and one looking to where we park our cars and front porch. This lady's still letting her dogs run out free after the attack, and we can get that on video. My sister, dogs, and I are going to spend the night at my boyfriend's house tonight, just so we can stay clear of this crazy neighbor. We called our insurance company and giving them all the reports and bills and evidence. They're sending an agent tomorrow afternoon to take video and pictures of both yards, and they gave us a list of local law firms that specialize in personal injury and property damages cases. They said they'll work in conjunction with whatever lawyer we go with. One thing the insurance company pointed out is they don't see any law firm named in my summons, and think she may have filed and be representing herself. They also said the roommate texting us all week saying they'd pay for everything could be viewed as their admittance of fault, but a lawyer would be able to confirm that. We did message most of the neighbors on our row, and a few of them have bad experiences and are willing to write statements. The kicker is, the family directly behind us has a teenage son who took a video on his phone of the big attack. The neighbor dog had tried to attack her son's cat while he was on the back porch, and her son heard the yelling and whipped out his phone. I haven't seen it yet, but his mother said they'll gladly turn it over to lawyers and write a statement. We're going to be busy this week and have a lot to do to get everything together, but it seems like we have a solid case. Thanks guys for all the time, advice, and comments. You guys are incredible. I'll continue to update or do an update thread when we've talked to a lawyer. Alright guys, so OP was not lying. Here's your final update. My sister and I spent the weekend after I posted researching local law lawyers that were suggested by our insurance and found 3 we wanted to contact. The guy we went with is amazing and more vicious than the neighbor's dog. He's also willing to take payment after a judgment or settlement and offered us a lower percentage than what we have researched is the norm. Ends up, his son had been attacked by an off-leash dog once, and he, quote, feels very strongly that irresponsible dog owners understand the repercussions of their actions, and that the neighbor is a threat, and this needs to be handled quickly. The neighbor's mean dog has been put down. She was deemed uncontrollable and not be able to be rehabbed. We've seen the nice dog over the last few days with the roommate, so she must have paid the fines to get her back. Our lawyer responded to her case against me and confirmed we'd be meeting them in small claims court. She was also served with 2 separate lawsuits. One from myself with my medical cost included estimated long-term cost, rehab cost, lost work vacation days, pain and suffering, and destruction of property. I'll explain the destruction of property shortly. One from my sister included estimated long-term medical cost, lost work vacation days, property damage, our dog, and pain and suffering. Her lawsuit against me has a court date of March 5th. After she was served with our lawsuits, she apparently desperately tried dropping the case against me, but the prosecutor denied her request. Did not know they could do that. She then tried contacting our lawyer multiple times to ask him to get the prosecutor to just drop the case. He informed her that's not happening, and he said he doesn't have any control of it and we'd still be moving forward with the 2 lawsuits. She finally got herself a lawyer, and our lawyer was contacted with a settlement offer that, in his term, were laughable. And of course, we refused the settlement offers. Our lawyer used past cases of dog attacks in New York City, where settlements of over $800,000 were paid out, and that involved cases where the dog's owners actually tried to stop the attack. Now, for some extra facts. My left wrist is going to need surgery that's scheduled to take place on February 27th. Our dog had the drain removed from her neck, and her skin graft is healing up nicely, but she's still in a cast with pins in her paw. The vet thinks she'll have a limp, but will recover with no other lasting injuries. She still refuses to go out to the back door anymore and will cry and plant if we try. The destruction of property, if my claim comes, is from the cameras that my boyfriend installed. The day after her dog was put down, she literally took a baseball bat to everything in our front and backyard. She broke our porch railing, smashed all our flower pots, bent my hammock's metal base, and used some kind of utility knife to slice up my hammock. Tore the plants out of the ground in our garden, including pulling up important maple trees. Dumped some sort of substance that had a jelly-like consistency into our koi pond, killing all the fishes. Oh yeah, and broke various things in our yard. She straight up went on a rampage that was all caught on camera. She also left 2 notes on our door. One threatened to shoot our dogs, and that she'd have someone beat us up. We called the cops immediately, and let me just tell ya, they took it seriously. They asked if we wanted to press charges, and we did. Our lawyer used the notes and camera footage to get an emergency protection order for us, and we have not so much as seen her since, though we see her car come and go. The video of the attack that the other neighbor's son took was a pure godsend. It shows how she just sat there, doing nothing to try to stop the attack. It also shows her audibly laughing during it. She only started trying to help when I started smashing her dog into the ground. We also got statements from multiple neighbors, and our lawyer is working on getting the multiple complaints from other families and the HOA. He said it's pointless to go after the HOA and we would not get worthwhile results from them. Our lawyer did tell us, though, the HOA started the eviction process against the neighbors, but that could take a long time and can be contested. There was also a memo sent out to a neighborhood about leash rules and that there will be an upcoming vote about possibly muzzling dogs if there are common areas outside or private properties and other neighborhood rules concerning pets. I honestly can't tell if this lady had some sort of mental breakdown or is just plain crazy. Either way, my sister and I both have our separate court dates against her in mid and end of March. Thank you all so much for your advice and guidance. You guys not only gave us the knowledge, but the confidence to fight this, and we're both so grateful to you all. I'll be sure to update after the court dates and keep you guys up to date. Please feel free to ask any questions and I'll answer whatever I can. Alright guys, Mr. Reddito here. So that update has not came out yet, but the second that update's released, you guys will be the one to see it. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see update number 3 of this story. What a wild one it was. So it seems like this neighbor was a psychopath. I mean, what the heck? This poor dog, yes, it was aggressive, but it had to be put down because it did not have a proper owner. I mean, how hard is it to keep your dog on a leash? Guys, let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below, and do not worry. The second OP posts an update, you will be the first to hear about it because I'm making a video right away. I need to know what happened to this neighbor in court. Drop your thoughts down below and tell me what you think is going to happen. There's another story that we're going to look at today. It also involves a neighbor's dog. Our neighbor's dog was poisoned. Police want to look through our internet history. Wife says she would let them because we have nothing to hide. I say absolutely not. How should we proceed? I guess some background is in order here. Earlier this year, a new set of neighbors moved in, and they brought with them 3 very loud dogs, who they let bark and bay 24 hours a day. We were the first people to go talk with them, and they got better for maybe 20 minutes, and then they just let the dogs go back outside and to continue on. Our city has a policy where noise complaints can be made to animal control, so we did that, which did nothing. The next step was to go to a city-sponsored mediation, at which point the dog's owners agreed to keep them inside. They did this for maybe 3 days, and then they were back to square one. The next step is to take them before a judge, who gave them a pretty hefty fine with the promise to take care of the problem. This all took about 10 months, with literally only a day's total of these dogs not barking. So they were quiet for about a month after the court date, but slowly and surely, they started barking again at all hours. We tried to go over there and speak to them, but this time, they were very clearly insinuating that the barking dogs were their right, and we needed to get the duck off their property. So we decided the only way to start the process over is with the animal control, as well as contacting our own lawyers to see about taking them to civil court. We have yet to contact the lawyer. We had made the initial report to animal control last Thursday when we got a knock on our door. And it was a uniformed police officer who said something like, do you have any antifreeze? I was really taken aback, and I think I asked, I think so. Do you need some? He then spoke into a walkie-talkie on his wrist and asked if he could come inside. I literally had no idea what was going on, and then explained that one of the neighbor's dogs have been poisoned, and asked if we knew them. I explained that I actually did not know who he was talking about, since the other 2 dogs have not stopped barking after the other dog died. I really have no way of knowing which dog it was. He said it was this family and said that they had told him we had a history of being cruel to his dogs. I got out of the whole file folder, including my logs, talking to the neighbors, the calls to the animal control, my copy of the letters, mediation agreements, and judge's orders, as well as a written down link to the YouTube channel we created in order to document the barking via audio. The officer then asked if he could take everything. I said I wasn't comfortable with that, but I would be happy to make copies today at work and drop them off at the local substation. So I did exactly this. I was met by a uniformed supervisor who said that he would like to send a specialist over to our house and look through our, quote, internet history to see what we've been looking up. Again, I was taken completely aback and said that I'm not sure what he'd be looking for. He told me that it was up to them to decide what they'd be looking for. It took me a second, but I asked him to better define specialist and internet history. And he said that at this time he could not do that for me. I asked him if somehow we were suspects, and he said, if I remember correctly, not yet. I asked him if I could leave. He said yes, and again asked if his specialist could come over tonight. I said I would really rather not, but I would get back in touch with him. He gave me his card and we said goodbye. I got home and told my wife. My wife insists that we invite him over right now to have them look through our computer. We have nothing on there that would tie us to any sort of dog death. But I feel it's insane to just let the police look through all the internet history without them being very specific as to who is doing what and what they're looking for. She thinks that by not letting them, we're making ourselves look guilty. I say we're not guilty because we aren't freaking guilty, and it's their job to find out who really did it. It sucks those people's dog died, but we have followed the letter of the law and have been exceedingly patient, even though our once quiet house has been miserable for a year. I'm actually really annoyed that our willingness to play by the rules seems to highlight us. What's up guys, Mr. Reddito here. I have the sneaky suspicion OP's neighbors are actually up to something very bad. There's a complete update, so let's hop into it. Alright, so thank you to everyone who responded. And I guess thank you to everyone in my direct messages who accused me of torturing dogs by forcing the owners to keep them inside because, God forbid, I want to sleep in my own house. Just to allay the fears of the other nice direct messages, I did not in any way, shape, nor form hurt that dang dog. Also, I legit thank you to everyone who offered tips on anti-bark devices. The problem is, these people aren't next door to us, which goes to show how loud the dogs are. So we don't have the ability to set up any sort of device. I took the advice of 99.9 Infinite of the posters and did not call the officer back on Monday night. I also showed my wife this thread and she was pretty convinced, so thank you for all the rational responses. I called a criminal defense attorney first thing yesterday morning. He was very cool and said that he did not want to waste our time or any money because the chances of the DA actually pursuing this, were slim to none. He did tell me not to answer any more questions, and if the police did come for me again, I could refer them to him, or if God forbid, they arrested me, he gave me the number of his answering service. He said that he had a good friend who worked as a detective, and he tried to put a call in to figure out off the record what was really going on. So basically, nothing happened yesterday. Of course, the other dogs are still barking, even as I type this, but I just heard Wednesday morning from the attorney, and basically, he had talked to his detective friend who looked into it. Regardless of what the neighbor says, there is actually zero evidence of them owning 3 dogs. In fact, the best evidence that the now dead dog ever existed were my calls to animal control, the mediation records, and the judge's rulings. The people could not provide any pictures, social media posts, any shot records, vet bills, or purchase receipts for any of the dogs, let alone the one that died. They also had not done any sort of medical exam to prove the dog had been poisoned, and they immediately buried the dog in the desert when they found it dead. For all I know, they buried the dog instead of taking it to the vet. They are the trashiest people I've ever encountered. Then they can't even really remember where they buried it, or don't want to say. So with almost no evidence of the dog ever existing, let alone being poisoned, we should not hear from the police again. So our complaint to animal control from last Thursday is still on the books. The lawyer is going to refer us to a civil attorney who he thinks will take our case and bring to a civil suit against the dog owners. Our city and county ordinances very clearly state that the dogs cannot bark for more than 15 minutes a day. And you have the right to an expectation of quiet in your own home. The criminal lawyer does not know how successful we'll be, but he does think that maybe the threat of lawsuits will get them to address the barking problem. Because, well, it would be easier them to just bring the dogs inside, as opposed to a court case, which they stand a chance of losing. Another crappy dog owner, but I have to say, I honestly don't even think this dog existed. I think they fabricated the story to try to get OP in trouble with the cops. I could be completely wrong, but that's the gist I was getting. Let me know your thoughts down below. I hands down say the first dog story owner, the neighbor, was absolutely psycho and way worse than this one. But let's vote on it. Tell me in the comments below, was it dog owner number 1 that was the worst, or dog owner number 2? Alright guys, thanks so much for tuning in. That's all the content I have for you today. Let me know if you want to hear more stories related to animals, or if you didn't like it at all. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a great night.